Well, good evening and welcome to Mountain Bears. I'm Aeson Knight, lead psychic and grumpy old ass bear. And of course, we got Kelby with the mostest, Techy Joe. How are you, darling?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you this evening?
Evil.
Evil? Why evil?
Well,
Must you be evil?
Always have to be evil. I'm going to have to maintain my status of Voldemort in this state. I mean, I got a rep to protect. But, the legislature is in session. Baby Dog has gone and given her State of the Union, not for TV cameras, but she did, piss on the floor.
Fair.
And Justice wanted everyone to sign a get well card for Baby Doll because she did injure her leg.
Aww. No, I feel bad for Baby Dog.
Right.
Legit feel bad for the puppy.
She's a great governor. The problem is her handler's an asshole.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's been the unfortunate part of the experience.
But he's out in 2024. He's going to run for the Senate. Bye.
Thank you, next.
Please
be better next.
Yeah.
Please be better.
Right.
Oh, but yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's been a fun news week for West Virginia.
Oh, it's been a fun news week across this country. We've got some articles. I've got one coming in. For you. This is a case we're following. But let's see what came up in our news board first. What do we have over here?
I think first up was the dating show.
Yes, this will be interesting.
Yeah, so Couple to Throuple is a new dating show for polyamorous couples. What to know? It's a matter of finding the ones. So, fun article from today. So Peacock has revealed the first trailer for its new polyamorous dating show, Couple to Throuple, and it might be the most provocative dating series yet. The 10-episode series will introduce viewers to 4 couples who travel to a tropical resort and explore inviting a third person into their relationship. In the trailer, released January 9th, host Scott Evans promises that Couple to Throuple will be a journey for love unlike you've ever seen before. So
I'm just kind of aggravated here. Why wasn't our agent contacted?
What? Well, no, this is a dating show
right.
For people that are in, which we talked about this. I think last week even. That whole Couple to Throuple, this is going to be interesting because that's usually our spicy polyamory.
Right.
That is the not for beginners version of polyamory, even though so many beginners start there.
Well, a lot of couples start there and they move out, and it's like, nah, I don't like that dude you're dating. So I'm gonna go date over here. Okay, cool, great.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, so yeah, Mika's excited.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it is one of those things though that is all right, so what are we doing? Was this the I'm sitting here going, I don't know that they know yet exactly the potential this has to be an explosive TV drama.
Oh, I could definitely be hosting this.
Well, or if they do know,
mm-hmm.
This is going to make Real Housewives and all the reality television shows pale in comparison.
Because at least we're included in this dichotomy.
Mm-hmm.
As one of the 4 couples, there's at least one set of LGBT. Now, granted, there may be other parts of the alphabet, but there's at least one.
Yeah. Well, that's if we even get to watch it in West Virginia, which is a whole other segment we're going to get to in a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because apparently Focus on the Family has bought out the state of West Virginia. Or so it would feel.
Right.
But yeah, we'll get to that. But no, that's if we even get to watch it. And yeah. So a unicorn hunt.
Yes.
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
this,
mounting up.
I mean, it has every potential to go that way. I'm hoping it will be more than that and not be the worst.
I just hope it's not corny and crappy. They've got this one sex therapist on there, and I've seen her perform before. And I don't care for her style of therapy. I don't care for her behavior. She's very gaslighty.
Oh no. Yeah, so they may know exactly what they're dealing with.
Right.
Oh.
Right.
Oh, this could be bad.
Right.
This could be bad.
Right. You know, and you do a quick Google search because they're going to run this bachelor style. How many bachelor couples are still together?
I think it's one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great question. So what's a unicorn hunt? Well, a unicorn hunt is where couples in a form of polygamy that they must date the same person try to find the same person. They call it unicorns when they're chasing a female, dragon hunting when they're chasing a male.
Yes. So as of October 10th, 2023, technically 25 Bachelor and Bachelorette, both shows, couples are still together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Out of what, 50 seasons?
Between the two shows, it's getting up there because it's actually that show is about 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Or those shows are about 20 years old. So together there should be 40 some seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So technically 25 are together.
Okay.
So it's good. I mean, they're doing about as well as marriage in general.
Right.
It's about 50-50.
Right.
I mean,
you know, and what I find interesting with this idea, if they run it this way, but also I'm seeing something else, and I'm like, okay. So in this article, they've got the contestants' Instagrams listed. I want to know how many people are sliding into the DMs.
Oh, you know they're gonna.
Mm-hmm.
You know they're gonna. I just wonder, did the people that went on the show understand what they set themselves up for?
Oh yeah.
No, see, we've had that problem for years, though. Is that like it's like, oh, well, we're just gonna do a show and it's not gonna be a big deal,
right?
And then it's like, no, now you have an Instagram account with like 15,000 followers overnight. And like 20,000 new messages.
Mm-hmm.
Like, good morning.
So you looked great last night. Do you feel like going out on a date next week? I'll fly you in.
Well, some of them are going to be like that. Some of them are going to be like, oh my God, you could do so much better than her.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's gonna. Yeah, no way in hell would I have let my Instagram go out for that. Like, I don't need public commentary.
One.
Well, yeah, if that's what they did, that is phenomenal,
right?
And I would appreciate that. That they set up their own public side for this show, or for public relations in general, Instagram. And then no, this is not my real world.
Right.
This is the fantasy for the show.
Right.
We'll update it as we can. I'm not going to sit here and go through 20,000 instant messages.
Let's not.
No.
But anyhow, so this will be interesting to watch. Hopefully, it will take off. Like I could deal with seeing more of us on TV, because Lord knows we need to replace Cody Brown.
Well, that's for me. It's really only if they've done the show well.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, it's just the polyamory version of the token gay.
You're right.
As in, we're going to exploit, like we did for I don't know, a good 100 years or so, and still to some degree do to today. Exploit gay characters purely for entertainment value.
Right.
Like, we're not investing in this character. We're just sending them in like clowns and monkeys.
Right. Exactly.
And so if that's what if that's the treatment that Couple to Throuple is giving polyamory, I think there's gonna be a lot of pissed off people.
Right.
They're like, yay, we got representation. Unfortunately, it's a clown car.
Right.
Like,
let's not.
Yeah, seriously. Well, because, and I think it's a legitimate concern given that they're doing Couple to Throuple. Which most important of all is that is some of your spicier polyamory. That is an on-ramping to polyamory that often comes with a lot of issues.
Yes.
Depending upon how it's set up, what people did before, like what their relationship was before, like it can go wrong so many ways.
Overly wrong for multiple ways, multiple behaviors. And I'm wondering, because those first like 2 months is great. Then you get into the, okay, how the fuck do we do this?
Well, some of it's that. Some of it, though, is just this concept of you, like, save the marriage baby is a bad idea.
Right.
Like, eternally bad idea. Save the marriage polyamory. Not quite as bad, but can be more explosive than the save the marriage baby.
See, I think that it's even worse.
Well, I mean, the fact that you had brought an entire human being into the world because you thought it was going to save a relationship, I think that ranks on the evil side pretty bad. At least this is like consenting adults getting into a relationship and then fucking it up.
Right.
It's okay. That's not as bad as creating a whole human life just because you're needy and alone.
Right. But, it's at the same time, it's just an atom bomb if you go in with the wrong intentions, the wrong idea, the wrong agreements. You picked up more than 2 and thought it was a great read. And you went, oh my God. Of course, I have my top recommendation. I don't care if you're a poly or not. Where did I put it? I just had it out the other day because I was trying to read it.
I don't know. I sent it back from the bedroom with you.
I know. We have discovered I cannot read in bed.
No.
I don't care, single or not. This is the book you want. This is the only dating book I like. The rest of them go underneath the couch to balance it out. But more love, less conflict. This is probably the best playbook you'll ever find in dating. So I'm hoping they hand that a copy. It's like 3. Are we counting exercises? Because there's homework in here too.
No, I was going by sheer size of book. I was thinking it was a couple hundred.
Counting the exercises and questions, 202.
Yep. No, I didn't read a lot when I was growing up. Not at all.
No, but you've read this.
Well, yes, I have. I'm just saying. Like, I don't memorize page counts. I'm just looking at it going, well, that's about 200 pages.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah, but you have to go back through it a number of times.
Don't dissuade people from reading it.
Well, and the reason for it is because, like, I don't know. There's some great exercises about relationship tune-up prompts. What's the best thing that happened to me this week?
Yeah, it's a whole life guide. Or
Yeah.
it's, you know what I mean? It's meant for extended usage. It's not.
Yes.
Or it can be.
It can.
Yeah, it's a basis.
Right.
Not just like, well, here's what I think and go.
No. Like, there's questions, there's prompts, there's, times it takes an inner reflection, the 50 universal desires, the list of emotions, guided exercises.
Like, there's a lot to it.
Right. So, and it also helps you with like breaking bad relationship patterns. So if you've been dating copies of the same version and it's just getting worse by the mimeograph machine, go get that book.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
For that alone, probably worth it.
Yes. Alrighty.
It's not an expensive book. I think it's like, what, 20, 15?
$15.95 was when I got it. I'm not even sure what Amazon has it for. Yeah, Amazon has it for $13. Audible has it for $8.50. But if you have Amazon, you can just use your Amazon credit. And then
how bad's the Kindle? Come on, it's 21st century. Why are we telling people book prices? Kindle, man. And again, we're not sponsored. We wish we were.
$11.99.
There you go. Tell the people what they really want to know. How much is the Kindle version?
Yes. Yeah, so $11.99 for Kindle, available instantly. Love this book. It's came out in 2008 and 18. The author is amazing. Is his new book out? Because if so, I need to get in touch with these publicists.
Oh, yes, please. Because God knows. We've done enough to sell that book. You really do love it.
I do, because it's rare. It's rare for me to find a book that I actually recommend.
Well, and it's a cross relationship, no matter what kind of relationship you're in or want to be in.
Right.
It's a good basis. It's a foundational book of here. You wanted a user manual for dating other people.
Mm-hmm.
There's literally a book on it.
Yes.
Like, start here, it gets better.
Right.
Wait, so Shannon tells us, wait for January 27th. Stuff Your Kindle Day might be free.
It might. But, sorry, recommend that to everybody. That's one of my, go get it. It's like, if you're dealing with anxiety, any of the shame factors, you want Braving the Wilderness by Brene Brown. Like, sorry, she's the top there.
Oh, Shannon's got a whole list of witchy books for Stuff Your Kindle Day.
This sounds like Prime Day, but with cookies.
Not necessarily.
Can it be with cookies?
No.
Okay.
No cookies. Just books.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but yeah.
But yeah. So we have that going on. And then, let's go check on them poor Chrisleys that are stuck in jail. Just won $1 million.
Yeah, so Todd and Julie Chrisley get $1 million to settle a lawsuit against a Georgia tax official. So yeah. The reality television personalities who are serving prison sentences for federal bank fraud and tax evasion convictions filed their lawsuit against the state in 2019. The suit alleges that Joshua Waits, director of the Georgia Department of Revenue's Office of Special Investigations, used his position to pursue bogus tax evasion claims against them for publicity and money rather than enforcing the law. So yeah. The agreement was reached with the state of Georgia, which will pay the settlement amount to the family. Chrisley attorney Alex Little said Tuesday in a statement. We have been saying for months that the criminal case against the Chrisleys was highly unusual and had real problems, Little said. This settlement is an encouraging sign. It's nearly unprecedented for one arm of the government to pay money to defendants when another arm is fighting to keep them in jail.
That's kind of interesting.
I mean, I gotta say, it doesn't look good for this tax evasion case.
Well, I've looked at this tax evasion case, and there is an issue, and here's the issue.
Okay.
The Chrisleys had a business partner. And that business partner was a little slimy.
Okay.
And to say that, it's like, yeah, like bottom of the pond scum. And he committed a number of acts, but the Chrisleys just followed along. This is why when you're in a business relationship with someone, I don't care who it is, you read everything. You just don't rubber stamp it, or you don't give them power of attorney to go do whatever.
Well, fair enough, but for many businesses, that's the whole reason you hired someone in the first place, is because you don't know.
All right.
You know what I mean? Like that's been the advice for years, is for running a business. You don't have to know it all. You just have to hire someone who does.
Right.
Like hire a specialist to take care of the things that don't make you money.
Right. Yeah, no, but no, this was an equal business partner. That the Chrisleys were busy doing the show. They were doing real estate deals. Things were high. This is 2008. And they may have got in over their heads. So we'll see what actually turns up of this. Because this now proves guilt.
Yeah, well, because I know we've talked about them before, and just try to rehash for me. So what was that business partner's role in the business? Like, did he give them the seed money and just like, here, y'all go do this, and I'm a silent partner over here?
No, he was a fully active partner.
Okay.
And he was doing business deals for them in their name. It's kind of like the whole reason why you own yours and I own mine, because you have to sign your checks and I have to sign mine.
Right.
Instead, they were together, and he got POA, whatever the paper is, to where he can just sign for them, do business dealings for them.
Power of attorney.
Right. And he executed it. And he'd done some less than good deals and then cooked books to get more loans in their names.
So basically they took, or at least their business partner, took the Trump education course on how to write down your assets for taxes and then write them up for loans to pay off loans, to get more loans, to pay off more loans, and just generate this idea of cash flow. As you're, buying and selling property left, right, and center. Right. And no one actually knows what the hell you have or what it's worth until someone does a full forensic accounting to go, Jesus Christ, this was a house of cards.
Right. And it was a house of cards. And then they had to default because it was a fucking house of cards.
Like, once you pull the one card and go, that asset's not worth what you said it was.
Right.
Now we have to look at everything built around that asset and its evaluation.
Right.
And then we find out this asset's not worth it. This asset's not worth it. And it just...
Right. And then like the
Everyone wants
Chrisleys,
their money.
they made some moves I've seen other, normal people do when they file bankruptcy, shift assets into other people's names that they want to hold on to.
Yeah, you
And
don't get to do that.
well, you shouldn't do that. Have the show pay their mother's company. When her mother's like, what company? I don't know company. I haven't opened a company.
Yeah. Just to find out, no, it's a tax dodge.
Yeah.
It's
a bankruptcy dodge.
Well, at that point, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so they get drawn into court, and this official testified in court that there were past due taxes.
Mm-hmm.
They were wrong. They were proven wrong. The Chrisleys had overpaid their taxes.
Okay, so they realized there was an error.
Right.
And then they quickly threw money at it.
Right.
Okay. So now, was there a point where they actually did owe taxes that were
there was
unpaid?
a point. Right. There was a point, and then it turns around and they paid them. Because this is what happens. We see this with lawyers, real estate agents. We see this with TV people. They don't get paid every 2 weeks.
Right.
They get paid by project, by property sale, whatever. Some places, what they do is they take the commission, put it in an account, and just keep paying you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at the end of the year, you have to settle what you actually sold versus what they paid you.
Right.
But apparently the Chrisleys wasn't up on their bookkeeping. So they just kept paying taxes and sending money. And the government applied it to the wrong account.
Oh. No.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was about to ask, was it just a fluke that in reevaluate, like the forensic accounting, when it restated everything? Because that's also a possibility,
But
is
no.
if you're inflating the value of assets,
Right.
and you inadvertently have been assessed the taxes on the inflated value, and you run the forensic accounting and revalue the assets properly, then you can also end up with an overpayment.
Right. Well, both occurred here.
Oh, God.
Both occurred here. Income taxes were overpaid and applied to the wrong years, which was a government problem. And they had paid inflated taxes. And when that was corrected, it was a problem, as in they had to get a rebate. But this official stated in court that they were like $15,000 owed in back taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, no, that is not correct. Here's the tax statements.
Okay. So they are like, this was already provable at the point they said it.
Yes. In court.
Okay.
Yeah. No, just let it go through.
Like, well, that's a respected tax official and you're a defense attorney.
Right. Exactly. So, you must be wrong.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. Like the Chrisley case is one. It's like, who'd you piss off in Georgia? Who'd you piss off in Georgia?
Yeah.
Because everything I heard in that case, and I haven't watched the latest EB on this, was like, I've seen this done in West Virginia so many times, it ain't funny. Like, this is how most of our politicians handle their taxes.
Probably not untrue. But
I mean,
no,
we see it out Jim Justice.
Well, there's that. Well, and it's not like Justice pays anything. Except by court order, and then after a long, excruciating fight.
After they go after his stuff, because there's still liquidation orders in Virginia on stuff.
Yeah. So all right, so that's the state of Georgia case, and then we have a federal version of it, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And it sounds like if you follow the bouncy ball, it's like the federal version is the same as the state version.
Right.
Because you're all working off the wrong information of money being paid to the wrong accounts.
Right.
Or the wrong years, more importantly. So that created an excess. And then there were inflated taxes being paid that when you did the adjusted accounting,
right,
weren't owed. Ugh. See, this is the scary part of like that Trump business plan.
Right.
Is no, you have to have really good accountants.
Yes.
To try to keep the house of cards from falling. And you basically end up having to just pay out crap tons of money.
Right.
In taxes. Just absorbent amount of tax money. So that you're constantly overpaid. Consistently forever. Never ever do you ever get behind for any reason on paper or otherwise.
Right.
In order, and quite frankly, that's been the Trump playbook. That's the rest of the story. Is no, you don't get to take a break from paying the government its taxes. You just keep throwing money at it for everything they possibly could want. So yeah. Last thing you ever want to do is get behind with the IRS, because this is what happens.
Well, what's going to be interesting is what exactly comes out of this. Like, this is not the end of the story. They still have appellates. Chrisleys are still being treated like garbage in prison. Like, Todd has lost weight. He has anxiety now. He's having medical conditions. He spoke out about his treatment. His treatment's gotten worse, according to his attorneys. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think this is going to get pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, then again, is this all going to end up mattering, because there's also other charges there.
Right.
So, according to prosecutors, the Chrisleys submitted fake documents to banks when applying for loans, which technically,
right.
So as well as false credit report and fake bank statements when trying to rent a house.
Yeah, we will see where this goes, because this is still indebatable. I mean, because it's from my viewpoint, I think some justice is screwed up. Okay.
Yeah.
It's one of those, instead of looking at the evidence, you're counting on someone else to look at the evidence for you. That's a problem.
Well, it sounds like this might be, and don't get me wrong, eat the rich, but this sounds like a situation where they came out like, with a full army tank,
right,
to go after something you could have fixed with a fly swatter.
Well, not only that, but you could have just wrote they could have just wrote them some checks. Pay the loans back. No fraud, no fault.
Well, fundamentally, what I mean is in terms of the federal and state tax cases, someone went after them with a full army tank for a fly swatter problem.
Right.
It's just like, dudes, fix your taxes.
Right.
Like, this is bullshit. We know this is bullshit. You know this is bullshit. Run it past your accountant, who's going to tell you it's bullshit.
Right.
And just send in what you owe us.
Right.
Has nice day.
Yes. So it'll be interesting what occurs here, where it occurs, exactly what occurs with it. We will keep you posted. All right, moving on.
Yes.
Let's go into our TikTok battle. Well, talk about our TikTok. I mean, it's not really a TikTok battle. It's just, we have one majority leader pro tempe for Kanawha County, Kaylee Young, who has a TikTok. And I've replied to a few of her TikToks. It's been quite interesting along the way, we'll say that. But I found it interesting that out of the she was bragging about the great day and how great the day was in general, and all the bills that were introduced, and there's a new one in West Virginia for people who are remote workers that want to move to West Virginia. They're trying to get people in the state as much as they want to.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked her, in one comment, I asked her, so, what about the remote workers already here? What do you think that her comment was?
What remote workers? I'm sure.
Oh, no. We lowered personal income taxes by 21.25% last year.
Oh, well, thank you.
Right. Why do they keep, and I asked her again, why do they keep targeting people to get them to leave? State bill, the state example, Senate Bill 194, HB 4387, HB 4421, HB 4579, and a SB 197. No comment back.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get comments back on that one because those are some
right.
Spicy legislation, to say the least.
Right.
Oh, so yeah. So Senate Bill 194 would enact a total ban on gender-affirming care for trans individuals up to 21 years old and mandates that all therapists and social workers in the state attempt to quote-unquote cure being transgender. The bill filed by Senators Mike Azinger, Laura Chapman, and Chandler Swope would impose the most draconian restrictions on gender-affirming care in the United States. It would also force all social workers and therapists in the state to become conversion therapists. Hi. This would build on West Virginia's under 18 ban on gender affirming care passed in 2023, which included exceptions that allowed some transgender youth to continue receiving care. The bill, identified as one of the most dangerous this cycle in West Virginia by leading state organizers, is one of 9 anti-trans bills released yesterday in West Virginia. And that was as of the 11th. So these all came out on the 10th. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the bill is broken into sections to target different aspects of transgender care. One section defines being transgender as sexual deviation and places it alongside pedophilia, exhibitionism, masochism, sadomasochism, fetishism, and more. Another defines minors for the portions of this bill as being anyone under 21 years of age, expanding the definition to include transgender adults. The bill then would ban gender-affirming care for anyone under this age while also banning the usage of state funds for gender-affirming care.
Right.
The most jarring provision in the bill, not found in any of the other gender-affirming care ban bill to date, is the one that applies to all social workers, counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists, and therapists. The bill mandates that all mental health care professionals would be prohibited from exacerbating gender dysphoria in those under 21 years of age by, quote, continuing such condition, delusion, or disorder with no intent of cure or cure pursuing recovery. Therapists would be mandated to cure gender dysphoria as affirming their transgender patients would be considered continuing such condition, delusion, or disorder. Okay, I think we need to stop there and talk about some things. You go first.
It basically makes conversion therapy legal in this state. Unimaginable, in my opinion.
It makes it the only option. Like, that's
Yeah.
your transgender care is conversion therapy.
Right. Then it makes it illegal for you to take your child out of this state to seek care elsewhere.
Well, and more importantly, it also makes someone who is transgender or experiencing gender dysmorphia
Right.
legally mentally ill.
Right.
Meanwhile, I wonder how the state's going to handle that one.
Right.
Because at this point, you just basically legislated it into a mental disorder, disease, or defect.
Right.
So, by technicality, anyone who's trans is now disabled.
Right.
Is what you just created a bill and said.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know any other way to read that. I'm sure the state's not going to want to read it that way.
Oh, of course not.
Of course, we're not going to, do anything positive.
Mm-hmm.
Not that being labeled that way is positive, but in terms
Right.
of receiving disability benefits.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 27 states currently ban the practice of conversion therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, there is no evidence that there is any cure for being transgender, according to the Movement Advancement Project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there is ample evidence that conversion therapy harms transgender people.
Right.
Transgender people forced into conversion therapy are more than twice as likely to attempt suicide, and the risk does not differ between secular and religious conversion therapy attempts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's that bill. There's a lot of fucking bills going through the Senate, to the point that technically any adult dressing up for Halloween, or children for that factor, could be held for Halloween. Putting on makeup, putting on a wig, putting on a costume, could be held at $3,000 fine. It's like, that's the looseness of these bills have written.
Yeah.
But she found it was more important to respond to a comment that, oh, we already gave you 21.75% cut in income tax. Well, that's cute. That's really interesting. But that's not really going to matter if you force us out of the state.
Yeah. I mean, here's my problem. West Virginia already screwed up many, many years ago. When we had this brilliant idea, we were going to make this a retirement and tourism state. Mm-hmm. No one did the math on that.
Mm-hmm.
That the things that tourists
mm-hmm.
and retirees need are not going to be the basis of a long-lasting, stable economy and a state people want to live in.
Right.
But we went full force down that, retirement and tourism trap.
Right.
And so now we have a much older than average voting population.
Mm-hmm.
Who is predominantly voting Republican.
Mm-hmm.
who is helping to buy their vote, to support all of this and to demand all this. So effectively, a bunch of dinosaurs are about to flush this state straight down the drain.
Right. Right. But I believe the bill I'm most concerned about, and I believe it's HB 43887. If Google would stop completing typing for me.
No, Google, no.
$43.87. Yep, that's non-discrimination in higher institutes. Okay, it's the reenacted code from 1931.
Oh, goody. So what in the 30s, 90-some years ago?
Almost 100, yeah. To amend the code to say, therefore, new section design will relate to all drag shows from being performed in front of manors and prohibit drag shows in public spaces such as schools and libraries. So your high school students can't perform Shakespeare. That's what he's wanting to do.
Well, not old school.
Not traditional Shakespeare.
Nope. All your men must be men and all your women must be women.
Mm-hmm.
Lest we have an imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one's. And it's the reality of what you're going to technically, what they're after, which if it existed, because, hashtag still not a drag queen.
Right.
Or, that's just, me having fun here. But no, like what you're after is a noble idea if it existed.
Right.
If it existed. If we had drag queens going into public schools or libraries and doing horrible things to children. If that existed, besides like reading books to them.
Right.
As characters from those books that are usually a different gender than they are. While remaining completely child appropriate.
Right.
Hashtag still not a drag queen. Can we point this out? Like every single day we have cases of children being harmed by adults that are not drag queens.
Right.
We really struggle to find the drag queen who harms children.
Right.
This is the Where's Waldo of the 2020s.
Right.
Find the fucking drag queen that harms children, please. So that you can at least have one example. One example. For your insane cause.
Right.
And the incredible amount of time, effort, energy, and money
that
you're putting into it. And all the unintended consequences that are going to derive therefrom.
Right.
But here we are. I'm sorry, I find it sick that this is what we're wasting our time, effort, energy, and money
Right.
on in West
House
Virginia.
Bill 2919 is one we have to watch. Here's why.
Oh,
Here's why. No, we don't run an adult bookstore or arcade or store.
no. We do not do strip teases. I don't do lap dances.
Mm-mm.
I mean, if you buy him enough drinks, Aeson will give
Right.
you a lap dance.
Yeah, you better have at least a platinum card.
You know. But still not his business. Just
Right.
does it for fun.
Right.
Like nothing we do fits the technical or the general idea
Right.
of what an adult business is.
Right.
We do not have a wall of dildos for sale.
Right.
There is no glory hole booth in the basement that we don't have because the house has crawl space that we charge admission for.
Right.
Because, hi.
Hi.
Nothing we do fits the general idea. Like, we don't film porn.
Right.
And sell it. There so many things sound like an adult business. Or when you say adult business, what you think is.
Right. Yeah. But the way it's written, we might have to move if this becomes law. Because it centers around adult businesses. Oh, yeah. Guess who else is in that tax bracket?
Technical legal classification for a psychic is an adult-oriented business.
Right.
Mika's really liking this glory hole booth in the basement.
Yeah.
Like we have a crawl space. Like Oompa Loompas would struggle with this.
Right.
But if you want to send over some minions and they want to have a good time, like we'll charge them, we'll lease them the space.
Right.
And now you have Despicable Me going through your head, and it is disgusting. I'm sorry. Anywho.
Right. Because I don't feel like paying $10,000 for the fourth reading I do in this state.
Interesting. So the first three are free.
No.
The fourth one's going to cost you
$1,000 for each incident, up to 60-day period of misdemeanor punishment, and fines up to $10,000, or confinement to jail for more than 1 year, or both. This is what happens when you do not have lawyers write bills. You have people write bills, and they can't sit there and read the languages.
Or understand.
Right.
That this is a tax code definition that has lots of implications far beyond what you're trying to reach.
Right.
So you just created a whole slew of problems.
Right.
For literally every psychic in the state. By the way, West Virginia has a few.
Yeah.
Who are self-employed / remote workers in most cases.
Right.
I think we only know a few that are not remote working.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, $1,000 an incident. I think the cost of getting a psychic reading is about to go way up.
Or we'll just move. The ones that pay attention to the damn laws. The ones that will take the risk of, not a county mountie getting a little bit freaky when he sees the tax code on my business license.
Well, or more to the point, that we're not going to get into a situation in which someone gets annoyed, doesn't like you, doesn't appreciate you told their girlfriend that they were cheating on them, which is 100% true, but they don't like you told their girlfriend about it.
Right.
and that she therein acted upon it, is going to get butthurt.
Right.
And the next thing we know, we're having to hire a lawyer, potentially,
right,
to argue that while we are an adult-oriented business,
right,
we're not that kind.
Right.
And that you overstep so now it's gonna end up in a very complicated lawsuit.
Yeah.
To separate out the adult businesses you meant to include and the adult businesses that you did not mean to impact. Not that anyone's gonna care.
Yeah.
In our state legislature. Because it's just an added bonus at this point.
Exactly.
That two birds, one stone. We threw out all of the adult businesses, shut those down. We got rid of all the trans people. Either we converted them or they fled. And look, we also got rid of everyone who reads tarot.
Right.
So all the cult shit's gone. Because they don't ever get it right. It's not cult, it's a cult.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting.
And then you've got, and this is just how badly these bills are written. But we've already seen this happen. Personally, we already seen this happen in this state.
Okay.
One of the longest running bars in the state's owners.
Oh, yes.
Retired because of this bullshit.
Well, actually, the predecessor to this, it's going to go hand in hand with it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because we're now so heavily targeting adult businesses, like bars,
cabarets.
That it's going to be nearly impossible for them to fight and continue operation. Because if you keep yanking someone's ABC license, which, interesting story, fun fact, there is no oversight except for Governor Jim Justice of the Alcoholic Beverage Commission in the state of West Virginia. There is no authority to appeal to except for the office of Governor Jim Justice.
Right.
For any issue you have with the Alcoholic Beverage Commission. It's really hard to run a bar without an ABC license. It's kind of like the ABCs of running a bar.
Exactly.
And this is A.
Yeah.
It's very So in addition to being the retirement tourist state, we've now become the G-rated state.
Right.
It is what this is fundamentally going to mean.
Yeah.
If it ain't family friendly, then it doesn't exist in the state of West Virginia. If it doesn't meet the criteria to be in a Disney movie with a G rating, it doesn't occur in West Virginia based on these bills. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
Like if you can't put a G rating on it.
Right.
And it's like, hi, I think this state's more than children. Like, I don't have any problem with the idea that we need to restrict children from certain things. I don't. But at the point in which you start restricting, consenting adults from perfectly legal otherwise activities for no other reason than your religious belief.
Right.
I'm sorry, did we move to Utah?
Right.
Because this is crap I expect out of Utah.
Right.
But yet it seems like Utah almost has their shit together.
Right.
Like, are we trying to become the new Mormon promised land?
Right.
Like, what's the point,
Right.
West Virginia? Like, help
Yeah.
me understand.
But not only that, but the sponsor's not listing any comments on this bill. By the way, delegate from Monongalia County is the bill sponsor.
Oh. Oh. All this over the drag time, what is it? Drag time story hour?
No, this is all part of the new Christian right wing move.
Well, yeah, that's fundamentally where it comes out of, but
yeah.
Like, hi, Monongalia County, we know why you're involved.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want the genesis, I think it goes back to the fucking library and the kids reading, being read to by a drag queen, and all the bullshit threats and intimidation that came out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the fact you're going to threaten and protest an event with children present.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem's the drag queen.
No. Or
like,
the adult making the decision to buy stuff.
Yeah. Like, take all the time you need to process it. But, yeah. Oh, Delegate Gino Chiarelli?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't see your private.
Yeah.
Oh, but no, I like...
Yeah. This is where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I'm spending hours looking on realestate.com. And then going and checking the state, the county, the city regulations.
I mean, it's an important part of every business to have to pay attention to the legislation in your area, the laws already on the books and the laws upcoming. But for a state that keeps trying to claim that we're easy to do business, that we're making it easier to open a business, we're making it easier to run a business, we're business friendly. It's not.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
It's friendly for some businesses.
Right. It's friendly for churches.
But frankly, yeah, it's real friendly to open a church in West Virginia. Why the hell do you think we have so many?
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, it's ridiculous.
Right.
Throw a stone, try not to hit a church.
Yeah.
Throw a stone, try not to hit a church.
But remember, churches don't pay taxes.
No.
Churches don't actually serve most of the area around here.
Hell, most of the churches in this state exist because they got pissed off at another church and splintered. So it's technically a hate group. I mean, not like Southern Poverty Law Center hate group. I mean, it's literally a group of people that were too hateful to get along as part of a larger group of people. So they splintered off a church from an original church because they just couldn't get along. And then that church is going to turn around and find an issue where they can't tolerate these people, and splinter again and again and again.
Right.
Like, that's most of our churches in this area. That's all it is.
Right.
Like, year after year after year, we see little churches pop up for like, where the hell did that come from?
Right.
Oh, that's the group that got ticked off at the other church. You know, right next door on the property they had to divide.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they built them a whole separate church.
Right.
Yeah, it is the genesis of Catholics, Anglicans, and all the others. I get that. But we're taking it in West Virginia and maybe all across the country to a level that it's like it's not even forming a new denomination. It's just a new church right next door.
Mm-hmm.
New and improved with more hate for the people you hate.
Right.
Like, good Lord. Like, you don't have enough to do with hating everyone else in the state.
Right.
Like, you hate us for being fat, you hate us for being gay, you hate us for being trans, you hate us for, doing drag, you hate us for, drinking and sinning, and like, God knows you are more than happy.
Mm-hmm.
More than happy to watch drug addicts die in the street. You don't have enough to do with all that. Protest abortion clinics and like everything and anything you can think of. Y'all can't even stand each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm with Brenda. I think you missed the message. Love thy neighbor. I don't think you're doing it right.
Right.
Like, you want a biblical country? Try acting like it.
Right.
Like we had a biblical country. You're fucking it up.
Right. Well, in West Virginia, it's supposed to be wild and free. Like, I've seen that sign 100 times coming home.
Well, technically wild and wonderful West Virginia.
Yeah. So anyhow.
Now we're conformist
Mm-hmm.
and boring.
Yeah.
West Virginia.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just waiting for the words "focus on the family" approved to roll across the next state entrance sign.
Right.
Oh, the things that happen.
Yes. So let's take a breath. Let's see if we got any comments. Sounds like all the churches I grew up were right ahead of me. One preacher got caught embezzling from the church and started a new church when they fired him.
Did you see Jelly Roll telling them that if they were innocent people dying instead of addicts, there would be a rush to help?
Yes. Yes, I did see that. I'll grab you an article because I know you haven't.
Oh, okay. I was looking.
Okay, sorry, I've got my news beat up.
No, go for it. Go for it. I don't know why I didn't grab one.
You're all right. But see, that's the point. And I'm so sick and tired of, but for the children, but for the children, but for the children.
Yeah.
Then why aren't every one of our legislators
fostering
lining up, fostering 2 children?
Hey, foster 2, you're a representative. Like,
you're
already used to being on welfare from the state. You're a representative. Get some more money from the state. Foster.
Well, not only that, but why aren't you already, reading in libraries so there is no need for drag queens to get up on a Monday morning, get in a Disney princess costume after working all weekend, and go read to your children because you won't?
I'm just thinking. Spend a little money at Halloween, buy some costumes.
Mm-hmm.
The popular children's books, it's the costumes they put on the shelf every year.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, country artist Jelly Roll pushes for anti-fentanyl bill.
Mm-hmm.
Rapper and country artist Jelly Roll, who at one time sold drugs, is now urging Congress to pass anti-fentanyl legislation that targets traffickers. The two-time Grammy nominee, whose real name is Jason DeFord, acknowledged on Thursday the role he once played in the crisis, but he told lawmakers he has also personally seen the devastation drugs are causing across the U.S. I've attended more funerals than I care to share with y'all, he said. I could sit here and cry for days about the caskets I've carried of people I love dearly, deeply in my soul. Fentanyl is a leading killer in the United States, contributing to over 100,000 deaths in 2022, according to data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. 6 out of 10 fentanyl-laced fake prescription pills contain a lethal dose of fentanyl, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration found. The Country Music Award winner urged legislators in the Senate Banking, House, and Urban Affairs Committee to pass the bill, which would enforce financial sanctions against drug traffickers to disrupt the flow of the drugs coming from Mexico and China. DeFord said it's time to proactive, not reactive, towards the crisis. Though he was lobbying for legislation put forward by Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown, he said this was a bipartisan issue. He said, I truly believe in my heart that this bill will stop the supply and can help stop the supply of fentanyl. In his testimony, DeFord said 190 people on average die a day from fentanyl overdose. He asked Congress, could you imagine the national media attention it would get if they were reporting that a plane was crashing every single day, killing 190 people? But because it's 190 drug addicts, we don't feel that way, DeFord said, adding that society has been known to bully and shame drug addicts. So, yeah, from the age of 14, DeFord ran into trouble with the law, spending 10 years in and out of detention facilities for drug-related crimes. I believe when I sold drugs genuinely that selling drugs was a victimless crime, DeFord said. I brought my community down. I hurt people. I was the uneducated man in the kitchen playing chemist with drugs I knew absolutely nothing about, just like these drug dealers are doing right now when they're mixing every drug on the market with fentanyl, and they're killing the people we love, he told senators.
See, this problem starts even before this.
Yeah.
Here's our problem. And this happens every damn time. Because we didn't use fentanyl. Fentanyl was very rarely prescribed. We didn't use Oxycontins. They were very rarely prescribed until Big Pharma got its dick in the play.
Well, technically, Oxycontin was developed to be a next line replacement for MS Cotton.
Right.
And they lied about it.
Mm-hmm.
Repeatedly lied about it. And sold it as a non-habit forming, non-addictive painkiller.
Right.
Which in turn, we knee-jerk reacted to the Oxycontin problem.
Mm-hmm.
And we turned people with pain
mm-hmm.
who had a problem
right.
and were excessively using Oxycontin into street drug addicts.
Right.
Because we yanked their prescriptions with no effort to mediate their addiction.
Well, not only that, but no effort to mediate their pain.
We also forgot about that. Yeah.
Okay. So, they didn't handle the pain.
Yep.
They jerked what was dealing with the pain away. Mm-hmm. Said, "Oh, take Tylenol." Great.
And I believe you may want to fact check me here before I go too far down this rabbit hole. And if I remember correctly, there are studies that show that Oxycontin over long-term use actually made it harder for patients to deal with the pain once it returned.
Right.
So fundamentally, not only were you not considering the people that were taking this medication and the pain that they had,
Right.
past tense, that qualified them for the medication, but you also didn't pay attention to the fact that when you jerk everyone off their prescriptions,
Right.
you're dropping them into a deeper fire
Right.
than they were past tense
Mm-hmm.
when they got the prescription in the first place.
Right.
Not to mention, not only is it addictive,
Right.
but this is considered one of the worst addictive substances.
Right.
Because it has one of the worst withdrawals and return rates.
Well, not only that, but they reduce their use of it. All right. And, instead of going, okay, we're going to take from Lortab to hydrocodone, which is what they were using before, because, oh, God, hydrocodone is terrible. Mm-hmm. No, it's not. Yeah, it's cocaine and some other stuff to make. But, okay, fine. Then you take them off completely, all of it. It's not only worse, it's harder to manage.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have been relieved from it.
Yeah. You get used to being functional. You get used to not being in pain. You get jerked off your meds. It's like whatever you did to need them in the first place, happening all over again.
Right. But worse. The problem is about 1972, that's when hydrocodone and Lortab and morphine and fentanyl, and now there's a new one that's even more stronger than fentanyl. Mm-hmm. More stronger than fentanyl. When, the fentanyl that can fit on the tip of this pen can take you out of pain of surgery,
mm-hmm.
but also take you into the other side if misused.
Yeah.
So something more powerful than that out there.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's a new designer
all their other constructions. They abandoned the old, we're going to do this, and you've got 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 to do this.
Well, and more to the point, and the reason it has become a national, global issue in drugs, is because it's cheap to manufacture,
mm-hmm.
and it is even cheaper
mm-hmm.
to incorporate in and extend the effects of other drugs,
right,
or to fake them,
right.
But it's also because it is so high powered in such small quantities.
Right.
It is easier to transport.
Right.
I mean, a functional level of heroin,
mm-hmm.
as in you can deal this. A functional dealable amount of marijuana, a functional dealable amount of cocaine,
mm-hmm.
pretty hard to smuggle.
Right.
It's a lot. It is a quantity. It is a noticeable, sizable quantity.
Right.
The amount of fentanyl one needs to transport is so tiny.
Right.
We can't even begin to properly search for and eradicate.
Right.
Like, it's going to walk across borders. It's going to jump on planes.
Exactly.
Because and good luck.
Pressed like fucking eyeshadow.
Just, God forbid, you reapply. Because you touch that eyeshadow compact, you're gonna die.
Exactly.
Like, literally, in the effort to try to find the drugs, we have to try to not kill law enforcement officials trying to find it.
Right. That's why law enforcement wear gloves.
This is
Point
our
blank.
quantity problem. This is our quantity problem of
Mm-hmm.
how little it is that jumps the line between, well, you're highly intoxicated to, and you're dead.
Right.
Very minuscule. The quantity that you would be transporting
Mm-hmm.
for dealing, for lacing other drugs with, for whatever, for the manufacture of other things, is going to be small enough that it's going to be virtually minuscule.
Correct.
In terms of like physical size, but interacting with it,
Right.
you're going to kill canines.
Right.
You're going to kill canine officers. You're going to kill DEA agents trying to even ascertain whether
Mm-hmm.
or not this substance has drugs in it.
Mm-hmm. However, what they have found, some of our audience might want to grab an ink pen, because guess what? Doctors aren't taught this today.
Yeah.
But if you need information, I'll gladly send it. The combining of calcium, magnesium oxide, in seleniate, and a low dose in this NSAID counteracts pain because it hits a different receptor.
Okay. So we take commonly available painkillers, like your Tylenol.
Right.
No. Yes? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then add a couple of little things.
Mm-hmm.
Retargets a different receptor.
Right.
Is not an opioid.
Right.
Are we clear yet? Is it non-addictive as well?
It is. However, it has to be maintained. This was the problem, is getting patients to maintain levels.
Okay, so it's one of those, once you start this, it's not a take it as you need it, it's a take it. Just take
Right.
it. Don't skimp on it. Don't forget to refill. Don't skip a dose. Don't play with it.
Right.
Because once you fuck with it,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna suck.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not exactly as patient easy or friendly.
No, it isn't.
But it's at least an option.
Right.
So fair enough. Fair enough.
You know, that's why, like, we're seeing doctors use allergy medicines. We're seeing doctors use ways to get that magnesium oxide into the system.
Mm-hmm. It really troubles me that we got so distracted by literally trying to turn patients into addicts for the cash flow that we haven't gotten any further with pain science than we have.
Right.
That pharmaceutical companies got so greed motivated that instead of doing the job of doing research on pain and alleviating pain, that instead they just reformulated things they already produced to make it more addictive, so they could make more money by turning patients into addicts.
But New England Medical Journal in 1942, it's not that wonderful of a read.
Yeah.
Notice I said 1942.
Like that's our best least lethal. Or non-lethal. Form of pain management at this point that is non-opioid. Is from 1942. That's how abandoned the science is.
So you take a NSAID, you're going to need something stronger than Tylenol. Pamprin's nice. It has a nice coating on it. It's easy to swallow. You mix that with a magnesium oxide base. You find that in allergy medicines. It's a nice carrier. You then have to introduce something to the brain to accept those. And then you need a beta blocker. Standard over-the-counter beta blocker. And then you have to maintain it.
Don't screw with it.
Yeah.
And again, this is all science from the 1940s. Can you imagine?
Right.
If we had continued that road,
right,
80 some years later, where we might be if it wasn't just easier to feed people opioids and make money,
right,
than to actually do legitimate research and go,
right.
There's got to be a non-opioid solution.
Right.
Like poppy fields cannot be the de facto answer for all pain.
Right. Now there's risks following the protocols from that. You do run a higher risk of strokes. You also run a higher risk of patient noncompliance. Because, they mess up or they plan. Note I said plan. They have to not take their meds at 6 in the afternoon. They have to take them at 8 when they get home. And their pain increases, even though they took their medicine, because their level went down.
So, not a therapy for the faint of heart, but it's at least evidence there's other ways to deal with this.
Right.
And there have been since the 1940s.
Yeah.
Like, again, dig out the research.
Right.
Put some modern machines on it. Do some modeling. Figure out a way to stabilize this.
Right.
So that patients have a lot more leeway.
Right.
As in, how can we get it to where they can miss 3 doses?
Right.
Before they have a problem.
Right.
Because most patients can not fuck up 3 doses in a row.
Right. And the problem is it doesn't stabilize in the body. Okay. Meaning the body processes it and out it goes.
Yep. So that's the fundamental research question: is how do we make it more stable?
Right. And
how do we get this to extended time?
Right. It also goes into other things because this doesn't just pop a pill and you can go to work. You have to know your sugar intake, your sugar outtake. You have to be mobile. You have to move. You have to relay and readjust those sensors. And no, it's not easy.
Yeah. I again, it's not an easy solution. It was just, this is other research.
Right.
That point blank says there's another way to deal with this.
Right.
There's other things we can do.
Right. But 1942 was the research papers. So doctors from, like, let's say 54 would have went into practice 54 with that knowledge.
Potentially, maybe if they read the paper.
Right. Well, no, this was actually their protocol.
Okay. And granted, these are the things that drug companies were trying to sell physicians on.
Right.
That, like, well, that's a pain in the ass. Here's something that's easier.
Right.
Oh, minus we're not going to talk about the fact it's kind of deadly.
Right.
And each generation that we're going to make after this is going to become more deadly.
Right.
Until eventually...
Right.
After
1974 1975 when
100,000 people
fentanyl,
die.
yeah, 1975 we would say that went out of practice because they had better and more easier drugs and easy to manage drugs and not drugs that you have to maintain a level on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then that's the route we went.
Yeah. And then we see the rise of hydrocortisone, and then we see the rise of Vicodin, and then we see the rise of Loratab, and then we see the rise of OxyContin and oxycodone. And now we're at fentanyl.
Hydrocodone and hydromorphone.
Right.
Oh, we eventually get to the point that grandma's buying fucking heroin on a street corner.
Right.
Because her fucking knees hurt.
Right.
Because of the 50 years she spent busting her ass for minimum wage.
Right.
Yeah.
And, her doctor just jerked her off of it. 20 years on the medicine, never had a problem, never abusive, no side effects occurring. Jerked it out.
Because it was easier to jerk her off her meds than to face the constant pressure reality.
Right.
And the pressure cooker that we created.
Right.
On physicians who were treating pain patients.
Right.
To do so.
Right.
Because there was now suddenly no legitimate pain.
Right.
No pain was legitimate. Everyone's faking it. Everyone's trying to get high.
Mm-hmm.
No, people were trying to go to work.
Yeah. And raise their grandbabies because they're now parents of their grandbabies.
Mm-hmm. Or just, quite frankly, have a life after retirement at 65.
Right.
After, decades of standing on your feet all day long, every single day.
Right.
No excuses.
Right.
Like, because that's ended up, like, the coal fields, like, all of Appalachia, were the hardest hit areas for the opioid epidemic. And it's not really a story about drug abuse for the sake of drug abuse because people just wanted to get high. That's not the story. The story starts so much further back in these people's lives of hard-ass employment that rips you apart and employers who don't give a fuck because you're replaceable.
Right.
If you can't work tomorrow, then don't bother coming in.
Right.
You don't work here anymore.
Right.
So they end up at doctor's offices, and instead of getting legitimate care, they end up getting handed a prescription on the sole theory of go back to work tomorrow. And then go back to work, injure yourself again, the pain gets worse, get another prescription, go back to work tomorrow, over and over and over. And then you end up with, retirees that have nothing left but pain.
Right.
That's it. They're used up. Their body's shot.
Right. And now, they put them on drugs. Then they still put them on drugs. Now they push risky surgery for spinal stimulators.
Yeah, we're going a lot of ugly places
puffs.
with pain management.
Mm-hmm.
Like on light science.
Mm-hmm.
Short duration, light science, not a lot of, good options being made available to you, but a lot of desperation.
Right.
So bone growth stimulators and, we're ready to put electrodes in our brains and, shut down pain signals, will inject you with steroids, and we'll go do physical therapy, and then listen to a doctor tell you that you don't feel what you think you feel because it's all in your head, because you don't actually know what's going on. And meanwhile, what's ultimately happened is, if you want to talk about the most viable job in the world now, has become drug dealer. Like, you wonder why all these people are dying of fucking fentanyl overdoses. It's because the most viable employment in the United States at this moment is drug dealer.
Right.
Well, I mean, every surgeon wants to cut.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a hammer nail problem to them. Like, I've been there and I've experienced that. And yeah, we had the bone growth stimulator for me that lasted less than 24 hours.
Right.
And based on my experience, I do not suggest it.
Yeah.
But I will say, coming off of surgery and being in pain and being handed a laughable dosage of pain meds, while being otherwise ignored for the better part of a year. Yeah, no, I was kind of hitting that point of, like, I would like to not hurt.
Right.
Like, that's it. I'd just like to not hurt. So you offered me, a bone growth stimulator and the promise that it's going to make all this go faster. Okay.
Yeah, and I looked at it and went, no. This has bad repercussions. Here's why. But we followed the doctor.
Yeah. For like 24 hours.
Right.
Like, we gave it a shot. We gave it a good faith shot. And no, it did not go well.
Right.
And it's like, this is where we're at.
Right.
Like, because fundamentally we've created a treadmill when you have a pain-based problem of trying to first prove you actually are not just drug seeking.
Right.
And in order to prove that, you're basically at the mercy of a doctor who's going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at you just to try to make you go away.
Right.
Without writing a pain prescription, before they'll believe that you are actually, quote unquote, legitimately in pain.
Right.
And quite frankly, with off-label usage of so many damn drugs at this point, it's a hell of a treadmill.
Well, it is, but at the same time, you've got to take that fucking off-label usage and look at the base components of the medication. And this is what doctors are trying to do, and they're not doing well. I will give them, they're not doing well. They don't have the research. They weren't built to read these fucking studies and look at the chemical compounds that one equals another, and this one has a buffer that reacts with this one, so you have to take these two medicines together to get this chemical reaction.
Well, and fundamentally, neither were we.
That's barbaric.
Well, if our medical professionals aren't capable of doing this well,
right?
Our GPs, our spine surgeons, our osteopedics, etc. If none of them are very well qualified to sit here and do a deep dive into off-label prescription usage, which I don't think anyone should expect them to be. That's not what they signed up for.
No.
That wasn't supposed to be the deal.
Right.
Getting into a car accident getting injured at work,
Mm-hmm.
falling off a ladder,
Mm-hmm.
that didn't qualify anyone else. That didn't qualify the patients to sit here and have to go into a
Oh,
deep dive.
the standard patient should not have to do this.
No,
Okay,
but you do.
you do. You have to
But
know every formulation of a medication and why it's there. Oh, fried green tomatoes, go suck an egg.
Fred Green.
Go suck an egg.
Oh, the fun things. But
There
no,
we go.
but then we end up one step further down the road,
Mm-hmm.
in which now not only do we have to be experts in things that like our medical professionals can't even handle, but they're trying. And not necessarily getting correct. But then on the patient side, we have to start understanding this, and we are woefully inadequate at doing so.
Right.
But then we're dealing with a whole medical community that, God forbid, you argue, because
Mm-hmm.
you just prove their point that you're drug seeking.
Right.
So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, whether you read it or you don't read it, if you understand it or you don't understand it, you spend the time or you don't spend the time, you're going to end up at the same place, which is the minute you try to argue,
Right.
dismissed from practice for being non-compliant and drug seeking.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you and have a good day. Good luck finding care.
Right.
Good luck finding care.
Right.
Like if the diagnosis doesn't screw you up enough.
Right.
Alrighty.
But no, what I was saying was barbaric, and if you will take the time to read Shannon's 2 long ones there.
Oh yes. So Shannon says, your legs are fucked up, and so your spine grew funny. We should do surgery on your back and change how your spine lays and see what that does. No. You've seen, she says, you've seen my big arch in my back because I walk on my toes where my tendons are short. They were like, we should put rods in there and try to get rid of that arch. Bitch, my legs won't work.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
No, I don't think Shannon will agree with my statement, but put you in heels so that you can have the lift for the arch.
I mean, there are a fair number of women who have ended up there from the other direction. They started out a career in high heels, and then, funny thing, 50 years later, their feet don't go down.
Right.
They are in Barbie mode.
Right.
Shannon says, I do wear heels.
Okay.
And yeah, no, and that's fundamentally the realization of what heels do to the body, whether you're male or female when you wear them. It does effectively shorten the tendon.
Right.
It kicks your butt out and your chest forward to help with balancing.
Right.
The stack.
So Shannon was built for heels.
Yeah, Shannon's like, I was born with Barbie feet. Yeah. No, I've literally it was a new thing. it was like, wait, what? I did not know that could happen to women over the course of wearing heels. Until literally having explained by an old woman at my church back in the 90s.
Right.
That she literally could not touch her heels to the ground. Her body did not bend that way.
Right.
Because she had worn heels for so long.
Right.
That her feet were permanently stuck in heel formation. It doesn't, like, the foot go flat.
Right.
It doesn't do it.
Right.
Yeah, Brenda points out high heels every day shortened my aunt's tendons to where she couldn't wear flats as she got older. Yeah, that's where this woman at my church was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because there's a point you start looking, and this sounds rude, but it was the 90s. I was a teenager. Okay, there's a point where you start looking at a woman, and if men around me at that point wore heels, I would have looked at them and had the same thought.
Mm-hmm.
But that, like, in her especially, that you start being fearful of how many more years in heels do you have, honey?
Yeah.
Because you're starting to hit the point in which, like, your balance is going to go. Your hips are going to start failing. Your knees are going to start failing. Those heels are nothing but a hazard. Like, you really want to be trying to walk down steps in, 4-inch stilettos in winter? Like, are you trying to die?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I can't leave the house if I'm not wearing them. Like, I have high-heeled slippers.
Right.
Like, I'm in high heels permanently now. This is my state of being. The only thing I can do is go chunkier.
Right.
Like, that's my future plan. Is I'm going to be on a walker in high heels.
Right.
Until I can't do that anymore.
Right.
And it's an interesting conversation to start having with older women who had no idea
Right.
what they were doing until it was too late.
Right.
And let me tell you, all of them have the same advice for other women. Take them off.
Right. Now,
not all the time you can wear your heels don't mean you can't wear your heels. But take exceeding breaks from them. Because otherwise...
Right. And, you can always tell if Aeson's back certain. Here's why. He has his cowboy boots on.
But yeah. Brenda says her slippers even had to have small heels, hard to find back then. Only Daniel Green's in her day.
I will have to check that.
I don't know that this has gotten easier, has it?
I don't think so.
Because I'm assuming what Brenda's talking about are the quintessential, like, fuzzy pink bedrooms heeled slipper.
No, mules.
Okay.
Actually, they're quite gorgeous. I wonder if they do a size 13.
Probably. Would you be the first that contacted them?
Probably not, because they're fucking gorgeous.
But no. So yeah, it does become a long-term problem that like, fashion at the time didn't even, I don't think even knew.
Well, what's
to
even
tell
weirder,
women, this is what's going to happen to you.
Right.
Like, you can't wear heels 24/7, 365, or as close to it as you can get.
Right.
And not have repercussions.
Right. But see, here's the thing: is people with back problems try a heeled shoe. Everyone says, "Get off the heels, get off the heels." Try a heeled shoe, see if it doesn't help your back. I know many people with multiple back disabilities that live in heels.
And again, for short durations, like, as in, don't wear it 24/7, 365.
Right.
But if you need a week in heels, do your week in heels, and then see if that gets a little better. If you can get out of the problem, get relief of the problem, come back out of them for a little bit, see what happens.
Right.
Like, moderation. Who knew you needed moderation for high heel shoes?
Well, moderation for everything. All right. So do you have an M of the asshole, or are we doing the mouse to select?
I thought you were grabbing me one.
All right. Here we go. This one's interesting. Let me get the poll up. Start reading.
All right. Am I the asshole for wanting to be paid for taking care of my disabled brother and father? I, 21 female, live in my parents' trailer. I sleep on the couch, and I also live with my two older brothers, male 27, male 29, who share a room, and sibling who has their own room, non-binary 19. I do not pay rent, however, I do help with bills. I bought gas this month, groceries, filled up the cars with gas, etc., and drive my older brother, who doesn't drive, to and from work. I take care of my brother, the one who's 27, and I have been for a while now. He had a stroke in 2018 and has lots of memory issues and is prone to getting unnecessarily angry and physical when upset. When he first had his stroke, I was 16 and had to drop out of school to take care of him. I taught him how to walk and speak again, crushed up his meds and food when he had aphasia for him to digest, etc. My father also had a stroke a year ago and has very similar issues, and I'm currently mostly taking care of him myself. My mom occasionally drives him to appointments, but otherwise isn't home. Now, here's the tricky thing. My mom gets paid to take care of my brother and father, despite not being the one taking care of them. I do have a job outside of caregiving, but it isn't enough to save up and move out of the house due to medical bills I am still paying off. My mom says that since I have a place to stay on the couch, I should be happy to take care of them for free since they are family. I'm not really sure what to do here, and I know my mom needs the income from my caregiving to pay for certain bills, but at the same token, I'm really struggling because if I didn't take care of my dad and brother, no one else would. No, you are not wrong. You are not the asshole for wanting to be paid for taking care of your disabled brother and father. Let's get that out of the way. Second of all, technically you are. We have a language problem here. And a situational issue I have I'm taking issue with here. One, you deserve better than a couch to sleep on. Point blank. I don't know how you make that happen, but make that happen. I understand you're 21 and this isn't a problem right now, but it will be.
Mm-hmm.
But technically you are being paid. Your mother's just not using good language to communicate that technically you're getting paid. It's going to her.
Mm-hmm.
And that is your contribution to the household. Even if she doesn't say it, you need to get that through your head and quit feeling like you're or being treated like you are some freeloader.
Right.
You are not. Whatever she is being paid to take care of your brother and father is your contribution to the household.
Well, see, here's the problem. I'm looking into comments. She's probably paying around $700 a month into the bills.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And then her mother's getting paid for it.
Oh, for the bills as well?
For the bills as well.
Okay. Here's the thing. It sounds like fundamentally you're in a screwed situation, and we can dig through and sit here and go through the finances of it. Unless your mom has a drug problem, an alcohol problem, or some other, gambling, shopping, addiction, whatever. I'd say the reality is it's taken every dime she gets from wherever the hell she gets it to make this all stay together.
Well, she works at the bank, but she has $100,000 in credit card debt.
From?
Spending. It's poor financial choices.
Okay, like we're real clear it's poor financial choices, not uncovered medical care.
Correct.
Okay. Is she at least using the money to pay down the debt, not add to it?
Correct.
Again, I think it's a moment where her mother's language needs adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
And recognition should be given that, yes, technically your labor is being paid, and it's going to rectify my financial mistakes. I mean, that's a hard parent-child conversation.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of adults to their children that are not going to be able to manage that, especially given this.
Right.
Like, there's no version of your mother that thought at 40-some years, 50-some years old, I'm assuming, this would be their life.
Right.
That they would have 3 children living at home.
Right.
Their spouse would have had a stroke. Their child would have had a stroke. And one of their children would be their caregiver for both of them while they're trying to work.
Right.
Like, I get a little touchy depending upon when the poor spending choices occurred. I mean, if the debt was run up before everything went to hell in a handbasket, their life may have supported it, and it wasn't running up a bunch of needless debt. It was just living your life, doing your thing. If it occurred after everything happened, I still struggle to get really cranky with it.
Right.
Because for some people, this is how they cope.
Right. See, like, here's my thing. And I'm not looking at the money. I'm looking at this 21-year-old that's looking at the after cost. Okay? Even though the money's going to the household, it's paying the bills, it's taking care of things now, that money's still going into that mother's fully funded Social Security. This 21-year-old doesn't even have that right now.
Well, no, they are working out of the house.
Right, but there's no way they're pulling full-time.
Well, but is anyone anymore?
Well, true.
I mean, I don't think... I think their social life is suffering. I think their future choices are suffering. And they're taking on a lot of the caregiver guilt that I can't.
Right.
All the I can'ts.
Right.
I can't abandon them. I can't, make choices for myself because I have to take care of them. Right. It sounds like they're otherwise handling this well. They're just not liking the concept of being treated like a freeloader when they're busting their ass. And that's fair. A lot of family caregivers, especially women, have been exploited over eons to provide unpaid, unrecognized caregiving to family members, male or female, without even a thought given to the mental harm of treating this like it's expected, which I take issue with mom's statements. That since I have a place to stay on the couch, I should be happy to take care of them for free since they're family. Yeah, that's a manipulative ass statement. That is some psychological warfare right there. It sounds so innocuous, and you will hear it from people. And it is the moment that I personally want to punch people in the face. Because you do not even understand the childish words you just said. You do not owe anyone in this world ever caregiving.
Right.
You do not owe them. You do not. This is the hill I will die on. You do not owe it to anyone to be their caregiver for free and be happy about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't like that the mother's treating her like a freeloader when she's doing basically 1.5 jobs.
Well, she has employment.
Right.
Then she's doing caregiving on top of it.
Right.
And honestly, here's the thing with being a caregiver is it's not even about the money. It's truly, honest to God, never about the money.
Right.
It's the fed up of being constantly treated like you're just sitting there taking advantage and exploiting the situation for free room and board while you're quote unquote caregiving that really starts to nag and eat at you.
Right.
And it's not really the problem. The problem is, like, it would be nice to be paid. It'd be nice just to flat out, here's your W-2, here's your payment for taking care of these two people. You are employed.
Right.
That would be nice. The fundamental issue, though, is the minimization of the amount of effort required to do this.
Right.
Because it's a full-time fucking job and a half on its own.
Right.
Because it never stops and it interferes with so many things that would be normal in your life to expect of a 21-year-old female. To be able to go on dates whenever you want.
Right.
To go take trips, to spend time with your friends, to go to school, to work a full-time job, to get an education, to all these things. It interferes with. It interferes with your ability to even plan to want to do something.
Right. And I think there's a respect problem because I'm looking through OP's original postings and other postings. And there's another one asking if they were the asshole for being mad for the family for interrupting a phone call that her and her boyfriends had. Okay.
And again, that sometimes turns into what occurred.
Right.
I mean, I don't think any caregiver who is angry should ever be told they have no right to be angry.
Right.
I think sometimes the bigger issue of being a caregiver is properly understanding what the problem is. Because when I say it's psychological warfare, it is psychological warfare. Because part of you understands fully and wholeheartedly that the needs of someone you are caring for are not their fault. Even if, like, their own actions caused it.
Right.
Like, the fact that they are now in this position and need care is not their fault. It's just their needs and requirements. That they are incapable of controlling their emotions. And they are dysregulated is not their fault.
Well, it's not that. It's the other people in the household, not the two carees. The other people in the household isn't saying that from 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. they would like the living room to themselves.
Yep. It's not a big ask.
Right.
Not a big ask. Not a big ask.
No.
You want me to work 22 hours a day. Can you give me 2 hours? Because the reality is... The reality is, for most caregivers, it's a 24/7 literal job. Because you are not guaranteed sleep. You are not guaranteed time off. You are not guaranteed to be able to go to the bathroom. You're not guaranteed to be able to go take a shower. Self-care is the biggest fucking joke to a caregiver that has ever been told. Because there are no guarantees. You might go in for a shower and take a lovely, lovely, lovely shower. You may also find yourself naked with soap in your eyes, trying to resolve a life and death, literal life and death situation 3 seconds after you close the bathroom door.
Right.
There are no guarantees.
Right.
You go to sleep with the same theory of sleep. You are not guaranteed a lovely, restful 8 hours of sleep. You could be up for days.
Yes.
It is a lot to ask of anyone, and minimizing it is garbage. Forcing someone to sleep on a couch while doing it is garbage.
Right.
I'm sorry, I don't care how tacky it looks. Rip out your couch, put in a bed. This is their bedroom. Treat it as such.
Right.
Let the people sleep.
Right.
At least when they can.
Right. Or have a phone call.
Or have a phone call.
All right. So the poll is up. Feel free to vote. I will go over the options so everyone understands them clearly. Of course, there's yes, you're the asshole. Then there is no, you're not the asshole. And then there is everyone is shitty. And then there's the dill pickle option. It is when they are not the asshole, but they are possibly a little bit asshole-ish, but everyone isn't shitty, and it's just like, damn, that's a pickle that you're having to deal with.
All right, so moving on to polyamory advice.
Yes.
Asking a partner to be your primary. For the first time since I've been poly, I'm really keen on asking one of my partners if they're interested to shift to a primary partnership. I've had great chemistry with several lovely partners these past couple years. However, I've yet to feel so drawn to this idea with a particular person, and I'm a bit overwhelmed by it. I've been solo poly for about 2 years, and compared to several long-term mono relationships of my past, I've become quite accustomed to a few perks. Independence in daily life, freedom for promiscuity. I've even noticed much more consistent honesty and clear communication regarding feelings and actions from pretty much all my poly partners. Simultaneously, in some ways, I still romanticize a traditional couple lifestyle. Eventually living together, forming a committed family unit, figuring out pets, children, location, lifestyle activities as a team, and generally having a best friend with whom you share your life. I plan to talk to them soon because I feel like I need to know sooner than later if it's even a possibility for us to try the shifted dynamic. I'm trying to brace myself for the possibility that they will not be into it in some way or another. It's hard to imagine how that could affect our current relationship. For now, I'm very eager to hear from other poly people whether you found yourself in this situation, how you approached it, what conversations you felt were most helpful, what you think in general. I'd like to know now if there's any blind spots, things I have not yet. Okay, there's supposed to be a more text here, I think, but I'm struggling to get it.
My conversation that I might have thought process and coming up with this conversation. Thanks, dudes.
Yeah. All righty.
What's your thoughts?
I kind of want more information.
Right.
So they've been solo poly for 2 years. They've met this person. It sounds like they have a romanticized version of like monogamy, or at least the traditional couple lifestyle. Right. And I'm wondering how long this relationship specifically has been going on, if they're potentially still in NRE that's pulling them like sort of backwards a little, or if they legitimately like they're out of the NRE and it's like, nope, I kind of want more from you while also
right
being poly.
Well, see, and here's my thing about it is, why do we need a conversation? I think the deepest conversation was, do we get a mortgage or do we move houses?
Yeah, well, that was for moving in together specifically.
Right.
I think, I don't know. I think in some instances it tends to just work itself out.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like when you're, and I know this is a weird analogy, but try to roll with me. It's sort of like when you're a little kid,
Mm-hmm.
and you just like someone more.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's not that you dislike the other kids in your class.
Right.
It's just this person's a little better at being your friend than other people are.
Right.
And they become your best friend.
Right.
And I think this should be and can be a lot of the logic that goes behind a primary
Mm-hmm.
or nesting partner
Mm-hmm.
in polyamory. Is that it's not that I per se
Mm-hmm.
love them more. It's that, like, our shit goes well together and they get me better.
Right.
And I think that's fair. I think the same qualities that make someone a best friend are the same things that should make someone a nesting partner.
Right.
I don't know that is the best, like, adulty answer I can give, but I think it's a lot of how it works out.
Right. And I think that it's a lot of how they work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does it fit? How does it work? What's your relationship style now? How do you foresee it changing? Like, those are things that you need to talk about.
Definitely requires openness to that.
Right.
And I think the biggest, like, blind spot is trying to push it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if this isn't organically happening for them too,
right,
trying to force it is gonna only lead to one thing, which is this relationship will end.
Exactly.
Because
nicely.
Well, because sometimes people are your best friend, your best friend, you're not theirs. Right. Someone gets them better than you.
Right.
And that is part of polyamory that can happen.
Right.
Just like it happens in friend groups, is that, sometimes someone is your best friend, but you're not theirs.
Right.
And that's okay. You accept that and move on. It doesn't have to end the relationship. It doesn't mean you can't, still have them as your best friend.
Right.
But it does mean that's an unreciprocated feeling.
Exactly. And that causes emotional damage. So my advice is, one, fill out what their long-term goals are. What are you looking for? What are they looking for? And then you need to compare your lifestyles. Can you actually match well together? Living with someone for 3 days every month is lovely. Wonderful. Not always the best for a long-term partnership. Okay. As far as nesting partners. And then you also have to debate, what goes well, what doesn't go well. Is it workable?
What do you really want?
Great example. Yeah, what do you really want? Like, boil it down, what do you really want?
Well, because sometimes people get really attached to, and sort of like OP's talking about here, this romanticized idea of traditional couple life. And that doesn't work for them.
Right.
Like, someone can be your primary partner or your nesting partner and have a different nest.
Yeah.
Like, there are traditional mono couples that live in entirely different states or
countries. I know of multiple.
It works for them. It works for them.
They see each other every 2 months.
Yeah, or whatever. They spend a season. They like, it works out. It fits their lifestyle. It doesn't mean that this is, a lesser partner.
Right.
Like, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
Like,
alrighty. Let's see what the poll says.
All right.
We do have one change of vote, so we will include that.
All right. So we do have comments as we're going along. So there's some thoughts of everyone is shitty here. Then there's a comment of, I went for dill pickle. It's just a sucky situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that dill pickle is when I can't pick yes or no. LOL.
Mm-hmm.
Suggestion for that situation is, if they have land, make them a tiny house so they have their space, like convert a shed. Right. Which I think is a great idea. But based on that post, I don't know that that's going to be a workable, because it sounds like this family is financially on the edge as is.
Right.
Maybe if they can keep the situation together long enough, for mom to pay herself out of debt, they can consider something more permanent and better suited to what they're asking this daughter to do.
Right.
All right. So next comment. Oh, I just saw this. I should have picked pickle. LOL. But I don't know. My cousin has a mom who needs care. And he moved to Vegas, and I don't think he is wrong to moving, but my family does. And then also I agree she needs a bed. Yeah. This is going to sound bad. And please take this as meant. The fact that your family feels that he is wrong to move is in some ways a good thing. I hate that they feel like they need to be involved in the decision making and like legitimately making him feel bad about the choice that he's making. That's wrong. We can all agree on that. But at least recognizing that there is enough with caregiving and enough things going on there to not make it the de facto expectation. Moving the needle. It's not there yet, but it moved. On it at least acknowledges that the situation is far more than anything someone should expect or be guilted into because someone's family.
Right.
And I have appreciation for that.
Right.
All right.
So with this,
survey says
you're a dill pickle.
I'm a dill pickle.
Yes. Meaning they see the situation, they can't choose if you're an asshole or not, but you have points on both sides. So you're not everyone shitty, you're more a dill pickle.
I think I can deal with that.
Yeah.
All
right, guys. So we will be back on Sunday for Psyche of the Plans. We're going to be looking at my planner, how it's changed since New Year's, and where everything goes to with that. So with
that, just womped me. Alrighty. So with that, roll the beautiful bean footage. So, of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Tracy Van, Caitlin Bell, and Devin. If you would like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes, and you guys have a wonderful evening. We'll see you on
Sunday.
Good night,
y'all.